What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online broadcast in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And I'd like to just say that today's broadcast is sponsored by Caesar's Crown. And I'll just put their information here at the bottom of your screen. And Caesar's Crown men's grooming is owned and operated by Mr. Travis Samuel. All of the products are made with natural ingredients formulated with men's skin in mind. Please check them out online and at their socials, where you can see all the great things that they offer, and you can get men start feeling like a king today. So join the movement, wear the crown. So as always, have the information at the bottom here. And we are broadcasting on a Thursday today. I know most people are used to us broadcasting on Monday and Fridays, but tomorrow is a holiday for most people, so we're going a little bit a day early. So as always, like to say thank you for catching the conversation out live or on the replay. For those who've been tuning in over the last few days, we've been talking about Black entrepreneurs. Well, we talk about Black entrepreneurs in Canada a lot, but over the last few days, we've been talking a lot about the Federation of African Canadian Economics, also the Black ecosystem. We had Angela Lindau, who is filing a class action lawsuit against the Federation of African Canadian Economics. And that really came to light in regards to two articles that were written recently by our guest today. So first of things first, I want to show the articles. If you haven't seen them, you can catch them online. And I'm just going to put them up for everyone to see. And again, won't spend time getting deeply reading them all to you right now, but here is the first article. And our first article is here. Fewer than 1% of the applications to Ottawa's Black Entrepreneur Loan Funds have been approved in the first year. And then we also have another one that we're going to put up. And both these articles can be found on the Globe and Mail website. So I just want to get the other article up here. And that was the second of the two articles of significance. The first one was Canada's big banks almost came together to help Black entrepreneurs, but then they went their separate ways. So, I'd also want to say Ryan is not with us this morning, or not yet, but if he is, I'll certainly join him in the conversation. But more, just as important, we have the right. So welcome to the Morning Vibe, Chris Hannay. Mr. Hannay, how are you this morning?
Hi, I'm all right. We were chatting beforehand. I have a couple young kids at home who have not been sleeping this week because they're sick, and so I'm pretty tired. So if I'm a bit low energy for this conversation, I apologize.
Well, we respect fatherhood here, so we get it, we understand it, and we really appreciate it. So again, we want to thank you for taking some time out of your positive, productive schedule to join us this morning for this conversation. A little bit about background about yourself. How long have you been writing for the Globe, and what various capacities have you been involved with the Globe before you started doing this beat per se?
Sure. Yeah. Well, first, happy to be here. Thanks very much for inviting me.
You-
Yeah. So I've been working at the Globe for about 12 years since I finished school, and I've done a variety of different roles over the years, including in our Ottawa bureau as an editor for about 7 years. And just took up a new assignment, wanted to try something different. And last year, took up a new assignment covering small businesses and entrepreneurs for our business section. And with that, moved back to Toronto as well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, let's get to it because I know time is very valuable to you and to everyone here. What was the reasoning to delve into this area or this subject? What was the inkling or reason that you got? What wrote these two articles, by the way?
Yeah, well, there's kind of two things there. So one, I guess the philosophical thing, and then as well a bit of the process. Actually, I'll start with the process. So
Sure.
around the time I started this job, one of my colleagues, Jaron Kerr, had kind of reached out, saying that he had heard he was another reporter in our business section covering mergers and acquisitions. And he had said he had been hearing, I guess this was early 2021, about from his sources, some concerns about how things were kind of going behind the scenes with the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund before it was announced. And so we chatted a bit about it. We both kind of checked in with people, see if we could hear a bit about it. And then the announcement ended up being scheduled for late May. I was unfortunately off for the announcement. My wife and I were expecting our second kid right at the end of May, and so I ended up taking the morning off. Or sorry,
that's okay. Don't worry, it's okay. Your wife will be good with that. Don't worry.
Anyway, I took I ended up taking about 3 months off because of the pandemic and having another little one at home. It just made sense to take a longer parental leave. So I wasn't able to cover the announcement at the time. But later on, Jaron and I circled back sort of towards the end of the year and started checking in. Obviously, during that past summer, that's when some things started to come out. There were a couple of great articles on buyblacks.com about some concerns around the fund, and an article on the CBC. So I think at the beginning, I guess towards the end of the 2021 into early 2022, there were two things that sort of caught my attention. One, I started seeing these banks announce their own Black entrepreneurship loan programs, which I thought I was curious about because I thought they were part of this federal program, and I looked on their websites and I didn't see any mention of the government involvement. So I was curious about what was going on there. And as well, we heard some, things through the grapevine that perhaps there had been some discussions between the banks and the government around loan guarantees with the program, about the banks wanting the government to guarantee every loan that was made, and that perhaps being a source of tension. So that's what kind of caused us to kind of dive back in. And then over a course of, I guess, a couple months, we worked together to report and try to figure out what was going on, reaching out to, banks, governments, Black entrepreneurs, pretty much anybody who might have some kind of connection, to learn what was going on. Sort of, started up, just tried to go in with an open mind, try to hear people out, hear what was going on. And then that sort of crystallized into the articles that were written. Jaron ended up getting, over the course of while we were reporting, Jaron ended up getting a job offer from another news outlet, and so left partway through. But so his byline is on the first piece, but unfortunately he wasn't around when it got to time to working on the second piece. But he had a very valuable contributions to the articles as well. So I just wanted to give him credit there. And you can invite him to do the show sometime. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. I don't know whether it's just
no, it's all right. We're good now. I'm just saying, well, hey, I'll certainly reach out to him as long as I can use your name as a reference.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, good stuff.
And then the other philosophical thing I wanted to say is just that, sort of as a reporter who sometimes covers government, I think I think every government, all levels, different parties, there can always be a focus on the announcement of something. Everything kind of leads up to that announcement and the goodwill and everything that comes out of that. And I think as a reporter, it's a very valuable practice for us to go back afterwards and find out, well, did they actually do what they promised? Did what they promised actually deliver what was needed? And that kind of thing. That's sort of, for me, that's sort of like.
Go ahead.
Sure. For me, that's just sort of like basic sort of accountability journalism, like holding powerful institutions to account for the promises that they're making.
So let me ask, from the time this was an idea to the time the two articles came out, what period of time was that? So what I'm saying is that when you thought about doing this article to the time the articles actually came out, how long of a period of time was that? Because obviously you had to do a lot of investigating on this. So how much research, how much time? Because it seems there's a lot of, at least not physical legwork, but probably a lot of digital or phone legwork was done on on both those pieces.
Yeah, I would say in earnest, probably a couple months.
Right.
But that's, Jared and I both had other things that we had to kind of work on. Both of us had to spend time after Russia invaded Ukraine. Both of us were sort of tasked with doing stories on that. So we kind of kept it, oftentimes part of the job, particularly when you want to do bigger, more investigations like these. You sort of work on them on the background while you're doing other things. You kind of have daily assignments that come up, and then you sort of work in other investigations over time. And, one of the things I find with my beat in particular, talking to small businesses and entrepreneurs, is that small business owners and entrepreneurs are very busy people.
Yes.
And so, I don't, when it comes to the government, I may give them, depending on the story, I may say, look, you need to get back to me by the end of the day. And I can expect that of them because they have entire departments that just do media relations. Mm-hmm. So they should be able to deliver. But sometimes when you're talking to entrepreneurs, sometimes you have to schedule a week or two in advance. And that's just part of it.
Were there any parties that said, no, I don't want to speak to you? Whether government, whether it was any organizations, because I could see maybe people not wanting to speak to you about this.
Yeah, I think that, as you can see in the articles, we have interviews quoted with everybody. We have quotes from everybody involved, except, public quotes from the banks. So,
which I'm going to ask you about in just a moment.
Which we were, frankly disappointed by. We, fairly early in the process, I guess, we started asking the banks for more information about their involvement and about their programs. If they have programs that they're proud of, then I think they should be happy to talk about them. Unfortunately, they only really wanted to give us statements by email, and we tried a few times, but didn't. Some kind of said after an initial email, some just said, like, we don't have anything more to add.
Wow.
So, if any people at any of the major banks are watching, I'm still happy to talk anytime.
Did that surprise you?
I don't know. I'm not sure if it surprised me exactly. It was, I think it's always, in stories like these, I think it's always disappointing if someone doesn't want to talk, because I honestly, we approach these things with an open mind, mm-hmm. and want to learn everybody's perspective. And if people don't want to talk, and they don't want to get their side out there, then I think that's a shame. Mm-hmm. But in terms of other people, again, I think, which I'm sure, you and a lot of the viewers, we were talking before, I've been watching the last few episodes as well, and love the show.
Thank you.
And so, I think that there was a lot of, in terms of talking to people who had applied for the programs, I think it's pretty obvious that there had been a lot of concern among people for a while. And so when it came time to talk to people who had applied for the programs, people were very willing to talk. I think people, I think for a lot of people that I talked to, some of whom are quoted in the stories, there was a feeling that they had been raising concerns for a while to government, to face, to everybody, and a feeling that they hadn't really been heard, and people weren't listening to them about the problems that they were facing with the program. And so I think there was a lot of there were a lot of people who wanted to tell me about their experiences.
Right. You do business reporting and all this, and I don't know if you want to put in this. Was this a model to succeed, and where has it faltered? If you are happy or willing to give any thought, where do you see some hiccups that have happened along the way? Because obviously you had a concern about the banks not wanting to say anything. Did you have any other concerns reporting this story, going, you sort of scratch your head or sort of scratch your beard going,
I don't know. Sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah, just say, did you said you had an area of sort of like disappointment with the banks not wanting to really give as much information as you had hoped. Did you encounter, or any of the other reporters encounter, the same sort of situations in any other areas or any other pursuits in this article?
No, I think people really wanted to talk to us. The second article, which is full of all the stats, which I think were important to get out there for the public record. I think it took some coordination. That one of the things that I think is tricky is that the program is very very complicated. There's a lot of people involved. There's the government, there's FACE, there's the Business Development Bank of Canada. And when it came time to try to sort out the numbers in the second article, it took some time sort of back and forth between the different institutions to get those numbers. But ultimately they provided them, which I think is great. I'm thankful that they were willing to put those numbers out on the public record and have people see them, because that is also not a universal experience of dealing with the government. Last week, I'll share this. But last week, was the budget, which I covered, and for part of that, they didn't give a costing. They didn't give a costing for all of the pandemic programs that they announced for businesses, and one of the ones they didn't was the Canada Recovery Hiring Program, which was the program the government launched last summer as a sort of replacement for the wage subsidy. And for whatever, the wage subsidy, you can get a decent amount of information about which companies got it, how much money was spent on it. But this other program that replaced it, the Canada Recovery Hiring Program, you can't really find out how much was spent on it very easily. And it wasn't in the budget. And I went back to the government last week, and after 2 days of working on it, they finally came back to me and said, we'll make the amount we spent public at some point, but we can't tell you right now. Which is ludicrous to me that the government could spend that much money on a program in the millions, if not the billions, and be reluctant to share that. So I share that anecdote only as for whatever else. I think it's valuable that in terms of the people involved with the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund, they were willing to put those numbers out there, and if not proactively, then at least when a reporter asked for them.
Cool. Question. You if correct me if I'm misquoting you. In one of the articles, you mentioned that the government gave FACE $9 million.
Yeah, the government told me that.
Oh, so the government. Okay. Interesting, because it wasn't really shared in any other media outlets. So I guess they like you.
I think I kept pestering them for more and more information, and perhaps out of my persistence,
Okay.
they gave more. But some of this stuff, actually, you can look it up. The government has a database. It's open.canada.ca, and they have a lot of public disclosures on that, proactive disclosure. And part of that is companies that win government contracts over, I think, $10,000 have to be disclosed in this database. And so if you want to see the money that was paid to FACE to administer the program, it's there. Sometimes there's a delay. Can sometimes be a delay of, I think, 30 or 60 days.
Okay.
But past payments are on there.
Excellent. As comfortable as you can, if you can respond to this, when you saw that only fewer than 1% of the applicants were approved, any thoughts on that?
Well, it was, I think as soon as I saw that number, I thought, well, that's a story that needs to get out there so that people know. I mean, that goes to the accountability issue I was talking about earlier, which is if that few people are being approved, well, if you come out and announce a program and you say, we're going to provide a lot of funding to Black entrepreneurs because of the systemic barriers that they face, then I think it's the government should follow through on that promise. And so just to find out that so little progress has been made in that time, I think is certainly points that there's something wrong somewhere in the system. There's something wrong going on. And so I don't think we have a full picture yet. And, I'm sure there's more stories to come out in the future about it. There's lots of different things going on, as you've talked about on the show, and as Ryan's talked about. Perhaps the ecosystem had it been built earlier or more, focus put on that first. Perhaps that could have improved the applications for things. I've also heard, and I think, and Faces said this, and Tiffany Callender said this publicly as well, that they were not very staffed. They were not staffed properly. I've heard different numbers about just how much staff they had when they launched, but no matter what the number was, it was clearly not enough to be able to deal with thousands of applications. So there was clearly a staffing resources issue there. Yeah. So, well, again, thanks for getting that information about the website. Someone's asked, so there is the website, Open Government, and it's open.government.ca. So definitely something I was not aware of. So thank you for sharing that information with our audience. I really appreciate that. It's a website I turn to often. It's a good source of information. There's all sorts of things you can find out there about government contracts that have been awarded, grants. It's not perfect, of course, but it has a pretty good amount of information. It helps if anybody ever wants to file access to information requests. If you're bored and want to file an access to information request to the government, or a good reporter, right? Yes, I have filed many in my day. They also have sort of it provides information that may be good for further access to information requests, such as those contracts, and also they have a database on Open Canada for all the briefing material that is given to ministers. So you can see the titles of all the notes and memos that have ever been given to ministers to brief them on issues. Good stuff. What was the most challenging, if anything, about writing these two articles? I'm not sure off the top of my head. Okay. What would be? I think just trying to. I guess it just there's a lot of things going on, and it's a complicated program. There's been a lot of different experiences over the past year, and I guess just trying to, in a sense, just trying to synthesize that all, in a way that people can understand who may not be familiar with the program, and so on. I guess was one challenge. Good. The first draft. I'll mention one thing. The first draft of that bank story was like at least 1,000 words longer.
Wow. Oh, so it leads me to this question then. What was left off?
Well, the only thing in some cases it was just condensing and explaining things in a more succinct way.
Okay.
The only thing I will say publicly, I feel bad that I got cut, was that we also interviewed Alterna about their microloan program, which sounds
Yes,
really great.
yes, yes.
And we talked to I think her name is Susan Henry, who works at Alterna.
Yep, Susan Henry. Yep.
Yeah, and one of the recipients of that the microloan, and it sounds like a great program that's also doing well, and unfortunately, just in trying to, if you look at how the story ended up in the paper, it was one entire page of the paper, so there were physical constraints on how much could fit in, and I do feel badly that unfortunately we couldn't include that interview, because it does sound like Alterna is doing great things, and hopefully one day we'll talk to them again.
Which leads me to I'll get to that, something building on that in just a moment. Did you get a chance, or did you approach at all Minister Ng's office about this story?
Yep, she's quoted in the bank story.
Okay, cool.
I can't remember whether I think they must have a statement or something in the second story, but yeah.
Okay. Is there a possibility that there'll be another article or maybe a series just to keep us up to date on what you're finding out, or what your publication's finding out about this ongoing issue?
Well, it's always hard to promise any future articles or anything, sure. But I am still talking to people about it, and still open to hearing stories. And there's still, after those stories were published, there's many people who have reached out to me to also share their stories. And so, I'm still happy to listen and sort of see where those things go, follow the reporting where it goes. Because I think that, there's still, I don't see these articles as being the end of, what's going on with the program, because there's clearly lots of things that need to be done. And one of the things that's been, again, interesting for me to watch your show too, is hearing from people who are trying to fix it, and particularly Ryan, who sounds like he's doing great work in trying to fix what's going on. And actually, yes, and Ryan had that great video that he posted on LinkedIn, which I saw the other day too, about how maybe this will hopefully be a catalyst for people to help improve the program and have it deliver what all the entrepreneurs are looking for.
Good. Excellent. Has there been any feedback from the government
since the articles were published?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. But they often don't. I very rarely get anything from them.
Any feedback from the banks?
No.
Interesting.
Nobody, one of the things in the bank story, unfortunately, because of the sensitivity of the negotiations, there is a section of that story about the private negotiations that we had to protect the sources of that, because they couldn't speak publicly about it. And I think as a journalist, you always take those kinds of things seriously, because if I quote somebody saying something and it ends up being wrong, I'm obviously responsible for it, but also because they also have their name attached. And when there's no name attached to it and it's just me, then I wear any errors that are there. But I've not had any people tell me that there was any errors in that.
Okay. Well, any final comments before we let you go back to daddying that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, that's no, I just again, the main motivation, I think, was really seeing whether this this big announcement was really followed through, and whether it was delivering for people, and being able to put on the public record what the results were, because those weren't really being shared publicly up to that point. And still happy to chat with people, talk to people, and follow things along if people have other stories to share, or if there's other you know, if there's anything not even related to this file, you know, I'm happy to. People can email me anytime. My email is on the Globe and Mail website. It's channay@globeandmail.com. I'm happy to be here about any stories. Again, I cover lots of small business issues. So if you have a small business that you think is a great story, or if there's an issue that you're facing as a small business owner that you think should be brought more attention to, I'm happy to talk to folks about that anytime. Broad range of things. You know, a couple months ago, I wrote about issues with property tax increases. A lot of cities increasing property taxes, and that's been a problem for a lot of small business owners. So every level of government.
Well, Chris, I want to say, first of all, thanks for taking time out of the reporting life, the family life, etc. I have a funny feeling that you're going to be doing another story on this. I just have this feeling that this story is far from over. And want to say that again. Thank you for the great job. Really and truly, really good job. And I'm glad that a lot of people are responding. I've just updated the contact information. That's where you can find Chris on Twitter. That's where you can find him via email. And let us say thanks very much for taking the time today. And I have a feeling we'll be talking again in the near future. And thanks for the support for watching our content. It's appreciated and not taken for granted. If there's anything that we can help you with, please feel free to reach out.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Take care. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye. All right, everyone. Chris Hannay gave his take on the 2 articles that he's written, and appreciate it. Anyone have any comments? So I have a little bit of a shorter version today. Just wanted to highlight on Chris, plus the long weekend coming up. We probably won't be doing, I say probably, I can't say for sure. We probably won't be doing anything live tomorrow. We'll probably be doing a repeat. Coming up on Monday, we're scheduled to have one of the key people in the Pan-African Credit Union, which is a Black-focused credit union. They put in an application to become a credit union. We're scheduled to have that individual on. Anyone have any questions, your thoughts on Chris's comments? Again, I can put up the articles again. If you have not seen them, I'll put them up right now, one at a time, and see if anyone has any comments. So the first article, I got to scroll it. So just give me a second here. Sorry about that. I just put it back up here. So the first article, and these are available online. Canada's big 6 banks came together to help Black entrepreneurs, but then they went their separate ways. That's the first article. And I would say if you haven't read them, please give them a read. Very, very interesting stuff. And I'll put the second one up in just a sec. Just a moment, sorry. And this one really got a lot of people's attention. A lot of people were asking me about it. So then that energized myself and Ryan, especially myself, to reach out to Chris. And Chris did say yes, he'd come on. So appreciate it. So both those articles available on the Globe and Mail website. Check them out. We have some comments coming in here. Okay, Macmillan Group, actually one of our sponsors. Thanks for the conversation with Chris. Excellent. And Shelley, thanks for bringing some clarity to the situation. Appreciate that. All right. I think we're done. So want to wish everyone, if you celebrate, happy Easter. I know there are I know Ramadan is in the middle. We're in the middle of Ramadan. So happy Ramadan to those who celebrate it. Thank you. And I've seen a lot of good comments in the comment section. So thank you very much. Happy Easter all. Great. Okay, so people have some opinions here. IPV saying face will be disbanded. Everyone will go back to their respective organizations. Just your 2 cents. Oh, we'll see what happens. Let's and I'm going to suggest people see Ryan Knight's video on LinkedIn. He said this is an opportunity for Black Canadians to unite, and let's get this done right. So instead of it being an event that sort of puts us down, let's use it to unite and bring each other together. All right. And just want to say the the views and opinions expressed on the Morning Vibe are those of the guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Morning Vibe. All right, we are done. As always, I like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And as always, remember, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. If you want to watch replays of what we do here on the Morning Vibe, you can catch them on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube page, which I highly recommend you subscribe to, the Dr. Vibe Facebook page, which I highly recommend you subscribe to, because when you do, you'll get notified when upcoming epic conversations come up. You can also subscribe on the Afro-Canadian Business Network's Facebook and YouTube page, and Ryan Knight's YouTube page. All right. So I think we've got everything covered here. There may be one or two other messages here. And I appreciate IPV. See you soon again. Well, you'll see us replay at least replay Why Small, maybe live, and you'll see us back live definitely on Easter Monday. All right. And I'm going to just do this, do that, and say as always, God bless, peace be well, keep the faith, and remember to give yourself grace. Thanks again for tuning in live on the replay. Cheers.